After the fall of the Roman Empire, Palestine changed hands many times, ruled successively by the Byzantines, Persians, Arab caliphates, Crusaders, and Mamluks. By the 16th century, it had become part of the Ottoman Empire. After centuries of neglect, the biblical land of milk and honey had become sparsely populated, economically depressed, and plagued by disease. In 1867, the American author Mark Twain visited the region and painted a bleak picture in his travel journals. Among all the desolate lands I have seen, I rank Palestine first. The hills are barren, the colors monotonous, the terrain ugly. It is a sad, hopeless, and depressing land. Despite this desolation, a continuous Jewish presence remained. By 1882, while the local Arab population stood at roughly 300,000, about 24,000 Jews lived in the holy cities of Jerusalem, Safed, Tiberias, and Hebron. These were mostly deeply religious Sephardic Jews, sustained by charitable funds and largely isolated from the modern world. Change began in the late 19th century. European philanthropists, like Sir Moses Montefiore, funded new neighborhoods outside Jerusalem's crowded walls and established the first modern agricultural settlements, such as Petah Tikva. In July 1882, sparked by anti-Jewish violence in Russia, a new wave of immigrants arrived. Known as the First Aliyah, meaning ascent, about 25,000 Jews from Russia and Romania moved to Palestine. Driven by the ideals of the Lovers of Zion movement, they purchased land, often malarial swamps or barren deserts, from Turkish and Arab landowners at high prices. They faced immense hardships: disease, hunger, poisonous insects, and hostility from local authorities. Although the First Aliyah ended in partial economic failure, it proved that Jewish agricultural life in Palestine was possible, sparking interest in Jewish communities worldwide. While pioneers struggled on the ground, a political revolution was brewing in Europe. On August 29, 1897, Theodor Herzl convened the First Zionist Congress in Basel, Switzerland. 197 delegates from around the world gathered to define a future for the Jewish people. When Herzl appeared, he was greeted with thunderous applause. In his opening speech, he declared, "We Zionists seek a solution to the Jewish question. We have nothing to do with conspiracies. We wish to place the problem under the supervision of free public opinion." The Congress was not without internal conflict. The practical faction argued for immediate settlement to create facts on the ground, while Herzl's political faction insisted on securing international legal recognition first. Ultimately, they compromised on the Basel Program, explicitly stating the movement's goal to establish a legally secured and internationally recognized Jewish homeland in Palestine. This event transformed Zionism from scattered regional activities into a unified, global political movement. Following the Congress, Herzl engaged in tireless diplomacy, meeting with the German Kaiser, the Ottoman Sultan, and the Pope. However, results were limited. The Sultan flatly rejected the idea, declaring he would rather fight than cede Palestine. Facing urgent humanitarian crises in Eastern Europe, the British proposed a temporary solution: a Jewish homeland in the Uganda Protectorate in East Africa. At the Sixth Zionist Congress in 1903, Herzl presented this Uganda scheme as a desperate measure for refuge. The proposal tore the movement apart. Russian delegates, the very people most in danger, walked out in protest, viewing any site outside Palestine as a betrayal of their history. In 1904, to preserve unity, Herzl reaffirmed his commitment to Zionism's original goal, quoting the psalm, "If I forget thee, O Jerusalem, let my right hand forget her cunning." Herzl died shortly after. By 1905, the movement formally and permanently rejected the Uganda scheme. Following Herzl's death, a new generation took up the torch. Between 1904 and 1914, the Second Aliyah brought nearly 40,000 new immigrants to Palestine. Unlike their predecessors, these young pioneers were heavily influenced by socialist ideals. They believed in labor Zionism, the idea that the Jewish people could only be redeemed through physical labor on their own land. They drained swamps, built roads, and in 1909, founded Degania, the first kibbutz. The kibbutz was a revolutionary experiment, a collective community with no private property, where members worked and lived as equals.